I finally talked to my crush.
Congrats.
Thank you. It took 8 months of me just sitting at lunch with my friends making fun of me. He's never going to do it. And not doing it. And then one day, I just got up and just said, how's it going? And those 3 words probably like the most happy I've ever been. Right? Doing it. Like I did it. I didn't die.
Hello. Welcome back to the Level Up with Lily podcast. I'm your host, Lily. I'm helping you get 1% better every day in your health, wealth, and mind. In honor of Valentine's Day, we're talking about how to level up your relationships. I'm joined today by Shawn, the founder of Effortless Dating by Shawn, who works one-on-one with clients on how to build confidence and pursue the relationships of their dreams. Today, we're diving into what's really holding people back from finding their person, misconceptions on modern romance, and how social media and apps, you know the ones, are impacting relationships and dating. This topic is so important because while you may be leveling up in other areas, it is so essential to also be working on your relationships in order to live a fulfilled, meaningful life. Before we begin, please remember to follow me on social media for more updates and like, subscribe, and follow this podcast wherever you listen, and leave some comments on maybe some of your worst dating experiences or some of the ways that you are leveling up in your dating life. Thank you, Shawn, for joining me here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excited for this conversation.
Likewise.
I thought this was a perfect episode to put out around Valentine's Day with a dating coach. And in my mind, leveling up requires leveling up in all areas of your life. So leveling up your relationships is essential too, to be a well-rounded individual. So I think that the audience is going to get a lot of great insights here.
I'm excited to share some insights.
Cool. Well, can you first share what is something you're doing to level up right now?
That's a great question. Right now, to be honest, right, I started Effortless Dating officially about a little over a year ago.
And that was going all in on this business?
Going all in, allocating funds, doing all this stuff, right? Before that, I was doing a lot of this stuff part-time, kind of helping my friends of friends, stuff like that. So, I'm a big advocate of being very transparent. A lot of the times I have no idea what I'm doing when I'm running my business, right? I'm not talking about the coaching itself, more in the stuff of like, how do I build a business? So a lot of my time now is allocated obviously to coaching and learning. Okay, what do I do next? Like different forms of marketing. Instagram, like, okay, what type of content do I need to create to kind of attract my type of client, right? Because the skits and stuff that you've seen are awesome. They're super fun. But then I also like to throw in a lot of educational stuff, because the guys that are actually watching that are struggling, they're like, if I can get one piece of gold, I'm happy. And that's kind of like, I'm navigating that. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now to level up.
Awesome. I'm hearing that you're working on your business and working on your own coaching abilities while also learning new ways to market. And I'm hearing also that if those men who happen to get that golden piece of advice from your page and are not yet coached by you, but they get that advice and they say, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, that can also lead to a future client.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's almost like,
that's the goal.
Correct. It's the goal. It's almost, I'll use a sales term like lead generation, right? I don't like looking at people as leads, but giving free value, I think, is so important in early days, right? Like what you're doing, people can access this podcast and like, I love the lead. If you ever come out with something that's a coaching for yours, right? And they're like, or if you ever do like a clothing line, I don't know, just throwing random stuff out there, they're gonna be like, I have this loyalty to Lily just because of all the awesome stuff she's done. Without a doubt, I'll pay whatever, right? Like that's kind of how I think about stuff.
Cool. Well, those are some good ideas. Stay tuned for the future on that. But I wanted to get into your background and your story. So tell us, how did you get to become a dating coach? What led you up to this point? Bring us up to date.
That's, I always like to say what led me up to this or why I started doing it is just because I built a skill of doing something over and over again, that it consumed my life. And obviously this started with me struggling with a lot of issues when I was younger. So when I was, I guess, teenager, even younger, I was almost diagnosed with social anxiety disorder. I did not know that was a real thing. Like, I mean, I'm probably at this point, I'm probably 14, 15 or something. And my parents, God bless them, they were like, we're not going to give you this pill. I don't feel like it's needed. So whatever. It started very humbly, right? I wasn't able to talk to my crush, your high school crush. And a lot of stuff happened, right? And in the sense of I was shunned by like my entire high school friend group for some reason. I don't know what happened, a lot of drama. So I was kind of left out alone, and only thing I had was YouTube and the internet, just like most teenage boys. So I kind of went there to try to identify, like, how do I talk to my crush? Literally verbatim, I think that is what I typed in on Google. I feel like a lot of people did that as well.
You are totally not the only one who's typed that into Google.
I'm very happy about that. I'm not the odd one out. But what kind of accelerated that was that I would eventually just kind of go into like rabbit holes of not just like how to talk to my crush, but what causes anxiety and different little psychological triggers. And I just fell in love with it. So tried to study that in college, go do the whole med school thing. Didn't work for me. But eventually I figured out, I finally talked to my crush. It took,
congrats.
Thank you. It took 8 months of me just sitting at lunch with my friends making fun of me. He's never going to do it. And not doing it. And then 8 months and one day, finally, I just got up and just said, how's it going? And ran away. I literally just ran away or just ended the interaction. But those 3 words probably like the most happy I've ever been, right? Doing it. Like I did it. I didn't die. I didn't implode. And from then on, I was like chasing that high. So I still say that to this day. I'm always chasing that high of like that moment, which I'm never going to achieve again. But kind of keep things kind of short, I spent the next, I would say 10 years of my life kind of perfecting the craft. There's a lot of guys that are like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And I knew there was someone out there that looked like me that had the success that I wanted. Success to me back then was getting a girlfriend. Like, it was that simple, right? It's like, there's Indian guys out there that have done this. Why can't I? Right. And it was kind of like a fear of like, I don't want to get an arranged marriage when I'm 30. That's the thing. And nothing wrong with it. But so I spent the next 10 years kind of navigating that and kind of building out a blueprint for what is the most optimal way for me to like just meet women naturally, instead of like me walking up to 1,000, which I did. I did all of that stuff. So that's the only thing I have over other guys.
Because what you're saying is that high school crush was not ultimately the one.
No,
you had to
unfortunately,
continue, yeah.
You don't get a girl from saying 3 words, unfortunately, right? And then if that was the case, we would all be in very different places.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what led me to kind of this fascination of like, I just want to develop this confidence and not be scared all the time. I couldn't even make eye contact with cashiers at a certain point in my life. So very happy, progressed, leveled up from that.
That's a major level up, going from not being able to speak to cashiers and having social anxiety disorder to having the confidence to not only approach women and pursue relationships yourself, but also to help other people do that. So how did you piece that together that this could be something you do as a career?
Yeah, I didn't really think of it that way. I think of it, so I actually got a lot of feedback from my friends and people that I helped just out of like pure passion. I was like, no, you can do this. I'm going to show you.
You were everyone's best wingman.
Yeah. That is in college, after all that stuff. I was the guy that I just like refused to believe that you can't do something until you try. Like, you try, please go get rejected. Like, show me that you have that evidence, or else I don't believe you. Right? You're just being a baby. It's just kind of simple.
Like that in all areas of life too.
Exactly.
Like if you're saying, oh no, I can't do it, but you're not willing to go out and try, whether that be approaching someone that you're interested in romantically, or like going after a business idea, or going after any kind of goal. Yeah. You're like, oh no, I can't do it because I tried it once and I failed and I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah. I think the fear of failure is what drives a lot of men away from their potential. And also just like, it's just a bit of laziness and like a bit of victimhood that has been circulating. Social media has a big part of it and all that stuff, but it's just try and then try again and then try again. if you think you're going to get the woman of your dreams or whatever, the mother of your children, by trying twice, some people have, right? But are you going to bet on that versus I'm not giving up, or there's got to be a more efficient way to do this. I don't want to just like approach 100 girls, which there is. So
when you're talking to your clients who are in this situation, first of all, how do they find you? Like, and what are typically some of the pain points that they're experiencing? Maybe they've tried and failed, or maybe they're afraid to try, so they don't even go for the girls. Who is it that normally comes to you? Yeah,
so they normally find me mostly through word of mouth and Instagram. I've been working a lot on my Instagram and just kind of being creative on there and just doing what I like to do. And I think people that resonate with it or see some sort of maybe inkling of themselves in me, they reach out to me via DM, stuff like that, or they go on my website. But the biggest pain points I'm seeing for guys is, honestly, there's a lot of guys. I actually just had a few clients that actually flew down from where, I'm not going to reveal where they came from, but they were in Austin. We went out just kind of to, I think, East Austin, great bars, whatever. And I was like, sometimes I'll ask myself, like, why are you here? You're arguably more social than me, whatever, doing well in life. But the second they see a girl that they're interested in, or a scenario that scares them, they just crumble. And that's okay. Like, that's a human reaction, right? It's just evolutionary. Back in the day when our ancestors saw like a saber-toothed tiger, they weren't just like, yeah, let me go fight it. No, they ran away, right? So I get it. It's a human condition.
Us women are saber-toothed tigers.
Yeah, exactly. Your words, not mine.
Some of us.
No, it's all. You guys are all fierce, but also not really. You're all most of the time very nice, and it just takes a little bit of confidence from the guy to, you know what, let me go talk to this person and expect nothing. So the reason guys fear all this stuff is because they want something from you.
Oh, that's big. Expect nothing.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I teach my clients very early on, is that I have something called the rule of 8. This is just free game. But usually the first month I work with my clients, I'm like, you're not dating. The rule of 8 is go make 8 female friends. Strictly platonic, nothing, right? You'll understand how women think. Like, when I say friends, I mean, I'm not like your besties. Just, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to hosting a dinner. We're going out. You should come. That type of stuff. Or like, I'm working out, blah, 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 that type of stuff. And obviously when you're friends with a guy, or, for you, you're not thinking anything. You're just like, he's cool. And you understand how women think, how they operate, and why women in society have more status than men. And kind of like, Lily will happily wing you, and she's going to be better than 99% of guys.
Oh, I love being the wing woman for my male friends. It's the best. Because women can talk to the other women. That's kind of my trick.
It's amazing. And that's exactly what happened when my clients came down in Austin. I had a few female friends with me, and I was like, lesson 1, rule of 8, watch it in action first. And they see it and they're like, whoa, I need to make female friends.
Yeah. So after they have acquired the female friends, what's the next step?
Next step is, the female friends are just kind of like a fun little party exercise, right? I would call it. And also, you're not like using them. You're essentially becoming friends, and like, stop differentiating. Obviously the way you hang out with guys is going to be different than the way you hang out with girls, naturally. But from then, it's kind of like an audit into their life. Why are you the way that you are? And why are you here? Right? I mean, a lot of stuff is done beforehand as well, and then I kind of break down their life. I'm like, okay, where are you spending your time? Who are you hanging out with? What's actually making you nervous? What is your goal? Right? Do you want a wife? Do you want, like, obviously there's a few parts before that, but like, do you want a partner? Do you want to be the guy? Have you never had an intimate relationship, right, with anyone? Okay, that's important to know, right? I've never hooked up with someone, right? Like, these are very, like, almost very private thoughts that they never get to talk about. And then,
this is something that people don't talk about. So that's why we're here talking about it on the podcast.
Exactly. And I'm the person that they end up sharing this with, which is a privilege, an honor to me. And then I kind of break it down, right? Because I've been there. I know what it's like. And then them kind of teaching them like, hey, this is the reason you feel this way is for XYZ reason. I have like kind of like a roadmap that I give them. And then we have calls if they're virtual, have calls for follow-up and accountability, but in person obviously is the best. We go and do kind of certain things. We're not going to bars all the time. It's more like, where are you spending your time? What is your type? Awesome. Your type is not at the place you hang out with. You never go to the gym, but you want a super fit gym girl. We got to connect the dots there, right? So that's when the process starts.
That's really interesting to hear. And especially when you're saying you don't go to the bars, because I think that's often where people go because they're looking for something. But for someone who is looking for someone with similar experiences and interests to them, then you're going to find them doing those things.
Yeah.
Most likely. So my audience is mainly women. We have some male listeners too. So I was wondering, would you say that a similar framework would work for women? And also, I think my female listeners will appreciate hearing kind of the male's perspective, like what your male clients are facing pain points with, because women are also facing their own pain points in dating and may not fully understand what men are going through at the same time.
Yeah. That's a phenomenal question. So I think obviously women have their own set of beliefs, set of understanding, where men and women are raised different fundamentally, right? So I would say the framework's actually almost inverse for women. Women don't have a problem of, women really don't need to do a lot of the approach and, you know, whatever you want to call it, the kind of the first 80%, right? Women have a harder time kind of with themselves, like feeling accepting themselves, right? And it's actually kind of like two ends of a magnet. That's how I like to think of it. Guys have a hard time accepting themselves and also knowing that they need to improve, and they'll use that as like a victim card to like, oh no, I'm not good enough for her. When a girl is like, I'm not good enough for him. So when you're both kind of like battling against each other, it doesn't work. So the biggest things guys are struggling with is women don't like me for XYZ reason when there's no evidence of that, right? They're just like, they haven't tried. And then women, on the other hand, feel that I literally show signs of interest. I do all of these things. I'm at a bar looking at you. I'm at the gym, you know, whatever, like glancing at my gym crush or walking by, doing all these quote unquote obvious signs. But nothing's happening. And like, I promise you something is happening. It's just the guy in his head, his brain is running 1,000 miles an hour.
It's the man is afraid to approach the woman, but the woman is waiting there for him to approach her. And it's like, why isn't he coming up to me? He's not interested in me. That
is kind of the problem. And also with the introduction of social media, I think there's a perception of options, right? I say this very loosely because if you have dating apps, you open up Hinge or whatever, you have 50 matches, right? Not all those 50 matches are real people, in the sense that if you couldn't hit all of them up right now and go on a date, statistically, unless you are a wizard. Great. For women, it's easier. They are getting naturally more matches. It's just science. Men, on the other hand, it's a top 10% of men that are actually getting 80% of the matches. So there's a big disparity. And guys are like, no, I don't need to talk. I'm going to go home and swipe. Right. So they feel like the safety net when there's not actually a net. And then it's a cycle. They're like, oh crap, I didn't get any dates today. Oh man, I should have stayed out. So then they start beating themselves up. That's what's happening.
And on the topic of dating apps, which is like its own beast that
100%.
I don't want to touch, but I will say that a lot of my female friends who are on dating apps will talk about their experiences, and they'll get on the apps, sometimes not even looking for dates. Like maybe they are, but it's more so out of validation for that exact reason. They get more matches, but they can't make those connections between it becoming a match and it becoming a date.
Yeah.
Which is then men are like facing the opposite.
Correct. Exactly. Right. There's always two sides of the coin there.
So I want to talk a little bit more about how social media and the internet has impacted dating, because when you were, you know, a young dater, so you're married.
I'm
correct?
engaged.
You're engaged. Yeah. So how long have you been with your partner?
5 years.
Okay.
5 years. Yeah.
So you've been out of the dating game for 5 years.
Yeah, officially, yes.
Well, I was going to ask about the dating apps. Do you feel like with the growth of them, it's made your job harder?
I think that's a hard question to answer.
Would you just think it's made dating harder?
I think it's made dating a little harder. I don't think my fundamental reality is dating is not difficult. It's just like anything else. It's a skill that can be learned or taught, right? But dating just gives an illusion. It's kind of just like a fog of war for people. And I don't have anything against dating apps. I think the goal for dating apps was to make it easier, right? But again, these dating apps are there to make money. They're here to promote Hinge, Tinder Plus, or whatever, to make more money. A lot of people, like, obviously, when you download the app, you're not thinking that. You're just like, oh, I can meet cuties online. But it gives people an illusion of options, which the options aren't actual real people, like I mentioned, right? It's more of like, oh, Sarah, Bethany, and Christine, I hope they message back. Oh, I don't need to talk to anybody when I'm out with my friends or I'm at this party that I'm hosting where I'm like the coolest person in the room and I still don't want to talk to anybody because these Bethany, Christine, and these girls on my phone that aren't real. And also fundamentally, girls have way more options than guys. So I actually think guys don't like fully internalize that. And that's also a big problem. Because if you think this girl's pretty, you're like, oh my God, she's my gym crush, whatever. I think it's absurd when guys don't think like there's 10 other guys trying to talk to her, right? That changes the game entirely. Now you have to ask yourself, okay, now what do I do? What are the steps that I have to take from here? And most people like don't even enter that like hemisphere of thinking. And that's where they kind of falter.
That's interesting. In some ways, it sounds like at least the dating culture that we see now is kind of a game. Mm-hmm. It's like, how many matches can you get? How many numbers can you get when you go out? I certainly have friends who make that the whole point of their night. Like if guys get a certain number of girls' numbers, then they know that they had a successful night.
Yeah. Okay.
How do people move past that and find real connection? Is that the next step for the guys that you work with after they've like acquired the female friends, maybe talk to some of the people they're interested in? What's the next step to actually solidifying, okay, we moved out, you got the first date. Mm-hmm. Does it become a relationship?
Yeah. So my goal actually is to it's a weird industry. It's like my job is kind of weird because I don't want you to work with me for that long, right? It's almost like if you have a goal, like, hey, I love when people have a goal. They're like, I'm 32 years old. I want to meet someone that I could potentially marry. Amazing. What that means is you need a girlfriend, right? Essentially. And the goal is to identify your biggest bottlenecks. Like I will do a bunch of different exercises and I'll be there in person most of the time when they're actually talking to someone. Like, I'm not like right next to them. Like, okay, what are you saying? It's more of from a distance, like, how do you talk? Like, what are you saying? What is your body language like? How does a girl feel? And I think this is, again, another kind of free game. Most people think, what do I need to say? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Am I standing straight? Blah, 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 blah. Instead, what I teach guys is, what do you want the outcome to be, right? How do you want the girl to feel when you're talking to her? What do you want to happen? Do you want to set up a date? Do you want to, is she wanting to go home with you, right? Or what is the outcome you want? And once you kind of have that clarity, your actions kind of fall. It's way easier for your actions to like fall apart. It
can change their approach.
Yeah.
If they are looking for something more casual versus they're looking for their wife, it's going to change how they approach the woman. Exactly. And how they continue to interact with her.
I think a lot of guys wait, instead of actively listening in conversations, they wait for their turn to speak. That makes sense, right? They'll say, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm from Tennessee. I'm from Tennessee. Oh, you're from Dallas? They won't even acknowledge that. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Tennessee," or something. And that's kind of the problem. And the girls a lot of my female friends will tell me, I go on dates and I sit there and I just listen when it should be the other way around. And I'm like, I'm so sorry to hear that. I promise I'm doing my best. So that's kind of the way the game is currently.
Well, you are doing your best and you're making it easier for other women to eventually find men who are great, but just maybe too shy.
Yeah.
to talk to them. This is something we went into a little bit before the recording, especially living in Austin, and any of my Austin listeners will probably relate to this or have heard this. People talk about how awful the dating scene is here. And my feeling on that is it's all what you make of it. What's your thought on that? And do you have any like mindset shifts for people who feel like, oh, dating is awful, especially where I'm living, whether it be because it's too urban, too rural, anywhere in between, and it makes them not want to try?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think at the end of the day, you gotta be thankful. You live in Austin, Texas, right?
Or fill in the blank, wherever that is you live.
You live in fill in the blank. If you're listening to Lily, there's a very low chance you're living in rural Alabama or Ohio. And there are real people living there that have the same problem, right? But you're in a better circumstance. So when people say, oh, Austin dating, I hear that significantly a lot. I've gone to like certain dating events and they're like, oh, but you're a dating coach. Why is it? I'm like, I don't control it. But please don't tell your date that. Please don't talk about this on a date or like with a person you're potentially courting. That is not what anybody wants to hear, regardless of how you think.
You can take that anywhere. Like that mindset. If you enter a situation with a bad mindset, you're not going to have the outcome that you want. And it's the same if you are entering like dating or courting someone, etc. Then you don't want to tell them that, oh, dating sucks. I've had terrible experiences dating, even if that's true.
100%. I think so. To answer your question of, what advice would I give to people that are thinking that, I'll separate it from women and men, and I'll start with the women.
Okay.
Obviously, I can't empathize with women. I understand what their situations are going through, but I'm not in your shoes. But women are on the receiving end, right? They're, for lack of a better term, hold a lot of like the power in a relationship. So just remember that. I think women sometimes shy away from the fact that like a guy should be the one that's courting you and doing all this stuff. So all you have to ask yourself is like, hey, if I'm going on all these dates, right? Or if I'm not going on any dates, ask yourself why. What can I do to, either make the guy more comfortable? If the guys are too nervous, too shy, you might be intimidating, which is kind of badass, right? But if your type is, I love software engineers, typically they're very shy or whatever, right? I'm like, but you're a hardworking, successful, whatever, accountant or something. Okay, maybe ask questions like in a tone or way that would be more conducive to them to start talking. Find the thing that this guy would love to talk about. There's a spark in his eye. It could be Legos. I don't care, right? If you're accepting of that, awesome. Let him talk about it. But then again, it's not entirely your job, though it's not entirely women's job. So if a guy is only listening and never talking, or if a guy's only talking and never listening, keep going. Next one, right? That's just the game. For guys, stop quitting. I think guys are giving up way too easily just because of, oh no, she texted me back 2 hours later, or she canceled the date, right? Like, okay, reschedule. And oh my God, this is my biggest pet peeve, and I've seen this happen over and over again. Girls will not go on a date, or they'll start dating someone else because you reply too late or you reschedule too much. That like, it's insane. The amount of like conversion that falls because a guy's like has to reschedule because of him being lazy or something. Crazy.
Interesting. So ladies and gents, take note on those. And I think that feeling of having abundant choices that you were discussing earlier is exactly why women may move on, because they don't feel like this one guy is appreciating them, is interested in them. Then they're like, okay, I'm gonna go move on. And that's why it feels like that sometimes when you're in a city like Austin, because there are so many choices. But I'm sure that people will find the right one if they are open to it and are able to, like those ladies, if you're interested in the quiet, shy software engineers, then ask them about their work. Ask them about whatever they're interested in. I like that advice.
I think it's important to just like, if you know yourself. Some women know themselves better than men, but I think it just comes down to a line of questioning sometimes. Just, hey, can I identify what this person's actually really into. And the second you're able to do that, it's like a switch goes off in their brain and they're like, I don't know why Legos is in my head, but it's just there. So they'll start talking about Legos. Yeah, I've been collecting Legos as a kid. I know it's kind of nerdy, right? But then they're so accepting, and the way they talk about everything now changes.
So in honor of Valentine's Day, I wanted to ask if you had any other tips for people who are trying to level up their dating.
Great question, Lily. I think if you're single, please don't see Valentine's Day as a chore, right? See it as this, when I was single, I saw it as an opportunity to try to find a singles event. It's almost like an auspicious time, right? People that are single looking to mingle, right? Or they're going out or going to certain events are there very intentionally. This is the most intentional time of the year for people that are single. Take action, go say hi. Everything's kind of handed to you on a silver platter. So all you got to do is take action, sign up for the events, go be festive, go ask your crush out on Valentine's Day. It doesn't matter, right? Take the risk. And if you're in a relationship or you're just starting to see someone, even if they're like, oh, we just started dating, make a little bit of effort, right? Set up dinner, get flowers. If you know a little bit about her, get her favorite thing, set up, a movie night, right? Where it's just you two, nothing with your friends, please. Okay. Just you and her. Keep it simple. Earlier you're dating, little gestures go a long way.
Oh, they totally do.
So that's what I would say.
Awesome. That's all great advice. The one last thing I want to close with is, because leveling up gets exhausting. As we know, owning your own business and also helping so many people. What is it that you are doing right now to slow down and take time to recharge?
That's a good question. I think for me, a lot of my day is very scheduled, regimented. You know me, and especially in the mornings, I'm in the gym, I'm filming content, and then I kind of get to work. But I'm a bit of a reader, and I don't have any agenda when I read. I have a specific time allocated if I'm trying to learn self-help or something. Great. I throw that into my day or something. Mm-hmm. But I read sci-fi. Like, I'm on the 4th book of Dune right now. Very hard to read, but I just love the world building and all that stuff. I'm a bit of a geek. I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm smart enough to be a nerd, but so things like that, anything that lets me almost escape, lets me just kind of isolate myself from needing to go. So hanging out with my fiance, where we're not on our phones, where we kind of have allocated time together, where we're just phones up while we're eating dinner. I wish I knew how to cook well. She does a lot of the cooking, but I will help.
Hey, I've been seeing you've been posting some of your cooking recently. It looks good.
It's like 80% her, 20% me. It's
okay.
Throw a little bit of garnish.
So you're taking a lot of the credit for it.
Yeah.
You just gave her some credit.
Yeah,
so that's fine.
But I do all the dishes.
Okay.
Right? I'm not I do all the dishes. She does all the cooking.
That's teamwork.
Correct.
That's teamwork right there.
Until I can hire someone to do all that stuff for me, I'm doing it myself. But it's, again, winding down, doing the things that kind of matter to you. I don't care how much money you're making. I know a lot of people that are very successful that are I need to go wake surfing every few days to decompress. I'm that's awesome. Just find that one thing that's you don't have to make it a competition. And that's kind of how I wind down.
Finding hobbies and things you enjoy that aren't a competition.
Yeah.
A lot of us people who are always trying to excel are kind of prone to doing that, myself included. So
yeah, I get it.
I am also trying to slow down in those ways too. Well, thank you so much, Shawn, for joining me. Can you share with the audience if they want to connect with you, whether they are looking to get coached by you or if they are just interested in seeing more of your content? Can you let them know where they can find you?
Yeah. Instagram at Effortless Dating by Shawn is where I do most of my content. TikTok as well. I have a website, effortless-dating.com. That's where kind of all my resources are. But I always tell people, if you ever have a question, I don't, just about dating or I'm struggling with something, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to answer. I see all my DMs and I reply to them. And a lot of the questions I get are just hey, went on this date, didn't go well. I don't know what I did wrong. can you help me? And I love doing that stuff. So that's where to find me.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lily.